Hey there, this is Natalie, back with more stories from some of the best subreddits. Please subscribe for more Reddit videos and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. And this story is originally from r/Today I Effed Up, and the title is Today I Effed Up by Calling My Cat Pretty, from user/Cats with a Z the Musical. And the original post says, I 26 male have a cat, Susan, 7 female. She is the absolute love of my life. I've had her for 5 years. We had an immediate bond. She's been with me through thick and thin. I may be biased, but she's also a very pretty cat. She's a brown and orange calico with a white belly and legs, and she has a very pretty face. I compliment her all the time because I love her so much and I want her to know how much I love her, even if she can't understand English. My girlfriend, 25 female, who I will call Liz, and I have been together for about 2 months now. She's not the biggest cat person, and Susan is very shy, so it's taken Susan a bit of time to warm up to Liz. She's not aggressive to Liz or anything, she just hides when Liz comes over, and occasionally she'd peek her head out to see if Liz was gone yet. Lately, Susan's been coming out more when Liz is over, and she's even started going to Liz for pets. Now, whenever Susan comes out when Liz is around, I do turn my attention to Susan so that she has a positive association with Liz. I'll stop and pet her if she's close enough, or I just say, "Hi pretty girl," when she peeks her head out. That's not to say I don't give Liz ample attention when we're together. I'm seldom on my phone around Liz. I give her lots of physical affection and compliments when appropriate. Today I had Liz over and we were watching Family Guy together. We were cuddling and just zoned out on the couch together when Susan came out and climbed in my lap. I started petting her and telling her how much I love her, as I usually do. Here's where I effed up. As I was petting Susan and talking to her, I told her she was the most beautiful girl in the world. Liz got up and went to the bathroom, and I didn't think much of it, even when she was there for a while. When she came out, she was clearly upset. I asked her what was wrong, and she accused me of being a weirdo who loves his cat more than the actual human woman sitting next to him. I was honestly kind of dumbfounded because 1, we haven't gotten to the I love you stage yet, and 2, it's my cat, and I honestly do love Susan more than Liz, which is something I knew I shouldn't say in that moment, but also I wasn't about to lie or be pressured into saying something I'm not ready to say yet. So I sat there just staring at Liz for a moment until she huffed, grabbed her keys and left. After about an hour, I went to text her to see if she made it home alive, only to find she'd blocked me. I was upset, but Susan is incredibly empathetic to me and came running to sit with me. As of now, Liz still hasn't unblocked me, so I guess I'm single again? Good riddance, I guess. TLDR, my girlfriend accused me of loving my cat more than her and probably broke up with me. Now there is an update for this one, but first let's look at some of the related comments. Nerd School says, do you tell Liz she's beautiful? OP says, literally all the time. I've never told her she's the most beautiful person in the world, but I'm a very affectionate person to everyone, and especially her because she is, or was, my girlfriend. OP responds on his healthy relationship with his cat Susan. He says, how is it too far? Susan's been with me through college, moving, breakups, hospital stays, the death of my father, etc. Anytime I feel sad, she senses it and comes running to comfort me. I would give anything to this cat. I do love my cat more than I love a human I've known for 4 months and dated for 2. OP on naming his cat Susan, he says, I named her that because shortly after adopting her, and much debate over the name, Susan came to mind, followed immediately by, that's a terrible name for a cat, and thus Susan became Susan. Now I'm a cat person, so if I had a boyfriend who was being like this with his cat, I would just think that was incredibly cute, and I'd just be jealous that I didn't get to pet Susan myself. But it seems like this girl's either completely mad and very entitled when it comes to attention, or maybe she does actually have some serious issues with insecurity that maybe she can recover from. Still, we do have an update, so let's see what happened next. Now this update comes from June 29th, 2024, and OP says, "So this is a very interesting way to have spent my Friday night. As a recap, I called my cat Susan the most beautiful girl in the world in front of my girlfriend Liz. Liz got upset and left and blocked me on everything. For those interested, there's a picture of Susan on my page. First, I'd like to say thank you for the comments. I have been kind of beating myself up over the whole incident, but yeah, an adult woman being jealous of a cat is not the kind of energy I need in my life. Also, I just gotta say, I did get a good laugh out of some of the comments, but I can assure you all I have a perfectly healthy human-cat relationship with Susan. I spend the day just going about my life. Around 10, I got a text from none other than Liz herself. She asked if she could come over and talk to me. For a tiny bit of additional backstory/context, I am bisexual and polyamorous. These are both things about myself that I'm very upfront about, especially with people I'm romantically interested in. When Liz and I met, we bonded over our appreciation of shitty cartoons. She expressed interest first, and I told her my deal. I knew she was bi since we met, and when we sat down to have the conversation that started our relationship, she told me she was in an open relationship with her last partner and was down to do it again, which, in retrospect, I feel I should have been more cautious about. But what can I say? When you see someone through rose-coloured glasses, the red flags just look like flags. Back to tonight though. I was torn on having Liz over because a big part of me is just done, but on the other hand, she is someone I care about, so I gave her the okay to come by for a talk. When she came in, I could tell she was really upset, so I had her sit down and I gave her some water. I don't want to share too much of what she told me, but there was more to her jealousy of my cat than I originally thought. She opened up about her ex. He was the one who initiated being open. He found another girl to date. He started spending more time with this other girl, and whenever he was around Liz, he'd either be texting her or talking about how great she was. He ended up leaving Liz for this other girl. Liz also said she wants to keep dating me, but she doesn't want to be polyamorous. I will say, I did feel a bit of guilt hearing this, because had I known, I would have dialed back the verbal love of Susan in front of Liz a little bit. Although I do love Susan more, Susan is indeed a cat. Cats don't understand language the way humans do, so I'm sure words of affirmation are low on her list of love languages. Meanwhile, Liz is a human who can understand language, and words of affirmation mean a lot to her. But the situation with Susan and the conversation with Liz opened my eyes to the fact that we're not compatible. I've tried monogamous relationships a few times, and the majority of them, meaning 2 out of 3, ended because I'm just not wired for that. I have not and will never cheat on anyone I'm dating. I want to make that perfectly clear. So I told Liz that, although I care about her and wish her nothing but the best, I can't be what she needs. She cried, but said she understood. We had popsicles. I know from experience that having something cold and sweet can be extremely helpful when having big emotions. I did end up telling her about my original post on here, and I let her read it. I was scared to do that because I know it didn't paint her in the best light, but she actually laughed and confessed that she felt a little unhinged at being jealous of a cat. I also asked her if I could make an update, and she said it was okay. Our conversation was a lot more in depth than what I shared. Seriously, if there's a villain in this story, it's her ex-boyfriend, and she asked that I not share a good majority of it. She gathered a few random things she had at my place, and then she left. As for Susan, she spent the entire night nestled between us. Liz was petting her too. I feel this is probably the best way this situation could have ended. I don't know if Liz is going to remain part of my life in any significant capacity, but I truly hope she does well and is able to heal. I'm going to text her best friend tomorrow and ask them to check on her. TLDR, my now officially ex and I had a good conversation. We both got some closure and I wish her well. Well, it transpired then that there was more to her feelings than just being strange about someone loving their cat. Seems like the couple realised that it really wasn't right for them to be together and ended things on good terms. So I guess that's another one for the happy ending pile. But what do you guys think about this one? How would you react if someone called their cat the most beautiful girl in the world in front of you? Or what would you do if somebody appeared to be jealous of your favourite pet? Now, this story is entitled, "My boyfriend comes home injured every day and he won't tell me why." This is a concluded story with full updates, so I think we will be finding out why the boyfriend has injuries. But this originally was posted to r/trueoffmychest by a now deleted account, user /top number 9931. And she said, "I, 26 female, live with my boyfriend, 23 male, and he's the love of my life. He's always been honest with me about everything, but recently I feel like he's hiding something bad from me, because for 2 months, every time he returns home after work, he's bruised and injured. Not like a small injury, but really visible injuries like bruises, cuts on his abdomen, legs, bad injuries. The worst injury he had was about 13 days ago. He came home at midnight and I was still awake doing some work, and his whole hair and face was messed up. He has a middle part, and it was like some of it was cut off, and he had bad swelling in his cheekbone area. He also had a black eye. When I saw him, I was trying to ask him what the F happened to him, and he told me he didn't want to talk about it. I've tried to do anything just to get some information from him, but he refuses to give me any. He keeps telling me not to worry about it. I've told him I'd also go to the police to report what's happening to him, but he's pleaded with me every time to not do that or else he'll break up with me. I'm so effing worried for him, and I feel like I can't do anything. He hasn't done anything to deserve any of this, and I've been trying to come up with anything I can, but I can't. He truly is a person who lives a simple life. The only reason I've come up with is that my boyfriend is one of the few minorities in a very conservative city. But even then, he has friends, connections, etc. Ooh, this would be a big mystery. Someone coming home all beaten up, not telling you why, and threatening to break up with you if you go to the police. I mean, you'd have to be suspicious there was some kind of debt situation maybe, or maybe Fight Club is real where they live. It seems like if it was from something normal, like he'd just taken up MMA or something, he would definitely just be willing to tell her that that's what he was doing. And although she does have concerns about maybe there being a racial element and he's perhaps being attacked or bullied in some way because of that, it doesn't really sound like OP's convinced that that's the reason either. This is definitely a mysterious one, so I'm going to read a few of the relevant comments from the Best of Redditor Updates thread that I got this one from, and then we'll move on to the update. So the first one, which is from Brightad306, says, "I bet he owes someone money." But OP says, "I really doubt that. He's never been the type of person to do something like that, and as far as I know, he isn't in any type of serious debt." Then Mrs. KMH08 says, "LMAO, then how the hell else is he getting so injured? Is he part of a fight club? What does he do for work?" And OP replies, "Pediatric nursing." Planet Rose says, "It sounds like he's an immigrant since you say his mom still lives in Vietnam. If he immigrated to the US illegally, it would explain why he doesn't want to go to the police and how he might owe money to bad people despite being a hard-working person who's not involved in shady stuff. This is sheer speculation, so take it with a grain of salt. I don't know what to do about it, but maybe an immigration lawyer would help." OP says, "He was born in the US. His mum just moved back to Vietnam with the rest of his family to take care of them. He told me he lived with his grandfather, but he sadly passed away 2 years ago." RE8NA says, "If you're close to his mom or brother or sister, tell them. Maybe they'll help you out. To me it seems like he's gotten himself into bad business and he's too ashamed to tell you about it." OP replies, "He's an only child. His mom is also really hard to communicate with. I don't blame her, but she lives in Vietnam still and she speaks basically no English. Going off of that, I'm not sure she even knows what's going on in my boyfriend's life, living so far away." So with that extra information, it really doesn't sound like he'd be having debt issues. And just for fun, I'm reading this one live, I haven't actually already read the end of this story, so, it's kind of fun to try and figure out the mystery. But we do have a full update, so we will get to know the answer right now. And the update, which is from July 24th, 2024, says, I asked my boyfriend yesterday about what was really going on, and I threatened to rope in my family, the police, and break up with him. I told him he was jeopardizing my own safety, and he had to tell me. After a lot of stalling, he eventually told me what it was. He's in a fight club. I guess the jokes were right. He's actually in a fight club like the movie. However, it's more complicated than that. He's just bored. He told me his family in Vietnam, especially his mum, are pressuring him a lot to give them more and more money. They told him that if he doesn't give them enough, they'll cut contact with him. And even though we both have pretty good jobs, he was struggling to reach their demands. And he didn't want to ask me for money. He heard about the fight club from his friends, and at first he thought it wasn't any good, but he told me he was getting really stressed from his family situation, and getting hit would relieve some of it. And once he heard money was on the line, he decided to join it. That's the reason he refused to say anything about it, because like the movie, he followed the first rule of Fight Club. That's also why he comes home sad. He's only using the Fight Club as a way to cope and earn some money on the side. That's also somewhat the reason he would plead with me not to contact the police whenever I told him I would. Even though the actual Fight Club itself isn't illegal, a lot of illegal activities like drugs were being done in it. I've talked to him about helping him with some money or therapy, but he told me he just wants to deal with his issues himself. He told me he doesn't want me to stress myself out just to help him. For now I'll stay off, but I told him I'll be helping myself by helping him if he's in a bad situation. Wow, so it was a fight club. I mean, honestly, I'm someone who's done martial arts and stuff for a lot of years, and I do see the kind of stress release kind of appeal of fighting and doing those kind of things, but I really think it's safer and generally better to get that kind of thing in a gym where everything's a little bit better managed and you don't feel like you're involved in some kind of sketchy illegal activities. But maybe that's part of the appeal. Still, it definitely is concerning. And the fact that there's money on the line at this fight club, so it isn't just a kind of activity, there's probably some betting and stuff going on, does make it seem a bit fishy. Still, we have some comments, including one from Sufficient Pause 837 saying, unless you're fine staying in a relationship with someone who is very likely to suffer from many concussions going forward, I recommend telling him to either cut off his family and stop fighting, or leave him. CTE is no joke, and I'm fairly certain these underground fights don't have paramedics on standby in case of an injury. He's going down a path that he will be lucky to walk away from, with massive, lasting physical and mental damage, if he's lucky enough to walk away at all. OP replies, the worst thing is my boyfriend doesn't have any type of MMA background. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Metal Hannah says, I know your boyfriend wants to do this for his family in the name of tradition, but he shouldn't do it at the expense of his safety. To defy the laws of tradition is a crusade of only the brave. OP replies, I told him that too, and he said he'd try, but it's going to be a while, because he showed me just some of the payments he's giving to his family, and holy frick, the amount he's giving could actually pay some of our bills. So I'm going to hand this one over to you guys now. What would you do if you found out your partner was involved in an underground fight club in order to send money to their family? Thank you for listening to today's stories. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening, and I hope to see you again very soon.